Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening. We're here today for the launch of a new feature. Let me just turn off something here. In Fig, and so this feature, it's sort of collectively named around a bunch of different tools to help you manage environment variables and secrets. Uh, I think right from the beginning of us sort of launching SST, there always been sort of questions around what's sort of the best way to do environment variables. And we've had .env support for a real long time, but then that's usually sort of followed up with a question of what's sort of the best way to do secrets. And now the traditional way, it had always been some form of .env with making sure the credentials are not being stored locally, in Git, that is. And when you sort of go to deploy with your CI, you put it in there. And one of the weird issues with that sort of pattern was, well, how do you sort of load that into your Lambda functions in kind of a good way? And I think we had a document, we sort of edited that recently, but we had a document going through the different approaches that you could take, the pros and cons of the different ones. And it felt like for every single approach, there was a bit of a trade-off. And what we wanted to be able to do was not just provide the easiest way to manage secrets and environment variables in your SSD apps, but also the most sort of secure way of doing it, so that you wouldn't be making those decisions, and you sort of get quote unquote the best of both worlds out of the box. So today, what we're doing is we're releasing this new feature. We're calling it Config, and it's made up of a few different things. So the first one is on the sort of infrastructure or the construct side. So this is where we let you define whether it's an environment variable or a secret, and we'll go into sort of details of this a little bit later, but we let you define this in your infrastructure code with a couple of new constructs. One of them is called parameter, which is for just environment variables in general, and the other one is called secrets, which is for secrets. And you are not allowed to sort of set the value, obviously, of these secrets in your infrastructure code. So that's the first part of it. You've got these constructs. The second part of it is, given that you've got sort of these secrets and parameters, we give you a CLI to be able to set these the value of these secrets, because obviously you're not able to set them in your infrastructure code. And then the third part of it is we give you a nice package that you can use on the Lambda side, and this is what I was alluding to before. That allows you to kind of load these secrets as your functions sort of start up. We're able to do some nice things here, which when compared to sort of the previous sort of .env approach, we're able to give you sort of type safety, and we're able to check for errors. And so, if you're trying to access something that doesn't quite exist, this thing can sort of throw an error for you. So as a person sort of consuming these environment variables or these secrets, you have a sense of what is sort of going on, or what is going wrong, rather. And the one sort of little bit that I kind of forgot to mention is, aside from defining in your infrastructure, there is a way for you to pass these into your function. So whether it's an API or it's just sort of a function, you're able to set these in a new prop that we're calling config. And that is kind of how this sort of gets sent into the Lambda functions. What we'll be doing today is, Frank will be coming on sort of shortly to give you a quick demo of how this all sort of plays together. We'll then do a little bit of a sort of behind the scenes. Frank will talk about why you should use these versus, the sort of traditional .env approach. And then we'll dive into, and we had done this in the previous sort of Remix site launch, we'll dive into the code and look at the implementation of this sort of behind the scenes. Config is interesting in that there, as I was sort of just going through different parts, there are a few different moving parts here that touch obviously different parts of your SSD experience in some ways. So, you've got the infrastructure side, you've got the CLI side, and then you've got the sort of Lambda function, your application code effectively. And so looking at, how this sort of works behind the scenes, I think would be sort of really interesting. And again, there might be a lot to sort of take in here, but hopefully the demo sort of helps you out. And again, we've updated the docs and we'll be sort of sharing that, through Twitter, through Discord. But we've got the sort of, if you just head over to our docs and look for environment variables, there is a great doc on how to kind of do all of this together. And yeah, on that note, maybe let's kick things off and just to sort of, with questions or anything else. Like I noticed there are a few questions people have in Discord as is. At the end of the sort of presentation, we'll kind of go through all the questions that you have and kind of answer them. We'll be taking them off of the YouTube channel. But yeah, feel free to sort of post them, and we'll make sure we address everything, and then we'll sort of stick around and make sure that everybody sort of has a good sense of how this thing sort of works. This was released yesterday, and so many of you have probably already started playing with it. So without further ado, let's bring Frank on for a demo of config.
Hey guys, I think what I would like to do is to give a quick demo, and for the guys, like for those of you who have to leave shortly after, just stick around for the demo, and you should have everything you need to. So I'll show you every single step, and for those of you who would like to dig a little bit behind the scene, and I'm going to show you the code after the demo. All right. Okay. You guys can see my screen, right? Cool. All right, so on my left, I pretty much have a fresh new SST app with the minimal TypeScript starter project. And there are really two files that are interesting in here. At the top, that's my stack. And right now, I only have one stack in this app. And in the stack, I only have one function in there. At the bottom, it's the Lambda code for the function. And on the right side, I just have SST start up and running, and we're looking at the console page. So if I were just to invoke my function right now, you should just print out hello world, which is what we're looking at here. Okay, so let's first take a look at how parameter works. Let's start by saying a common use case is if you have a topic and you want to publish some, a message to the topic, what we usually do is create a topic. This topic should get fired every time. Let's say user update a profile. We'll call it user updated topic, and this is the should be lowercase user. And what we usually do is we will pass that in through environment, right? We'll do an environment variable called topic ARN and user update topic. We pass in topic ARN here. And let's take a look how it's done using parameters. So we will create a parameter called user updated topic. And we need to import this called config. And config has two things in there, parameter and secret. And in this case, it would be a parameter. And the value is going to be the topic ARN. Cool. And instead of passing that in through environment, we don't need this anymore. Maybe let me comment it out just to see a comparison. So we'll use the config parameter, and you just take an array of parameters or secrets. this, and yeah, I'm going to import config. And for those of you who have the pyramid structure, let's move config below topic. Okay, so this is all you need to create a parameter. And the moment this is done, so the step one, almost like create a parameter with the value you want to use. Second step, pass that parameter into the function. And let's see what it feels like using the parameter. I think that requires some stack change. Let's wait for it. Okay. As we're waiting for the stack to synthesize, we'll start creating. Let's take a look at the application code side. It's from the node config package. Getting the export. Maybe it's loading. Give it a second. I think my VS Code is taking a while to pick up the change. See what's happening. Okay, is this? Nope, I think it's ready. Are the changes? Okay, this is the time I need to flip over to the doc and see how should I use this. Quick start. And that does seem right. Did I not include 0.8? I didn't include the package here. All right, let's go to the services and install the name of the package. All right, so the server stack / node package is the one that you would use in your Lambda functions. I think if you use the GraphQL stack that Dax was showing before, that's the same package where you would import this config from. We are thinking about renaming this from node to Lambda to make it more explicit that this is a package that would use in your Lambda function. And it has all these helper libraries that can help you in your function code to do some of these. All right, let's see. Cool. All right, config is here. And then you use the config dot. What is it? This should I think sometimes VS Code is kind of slow in picking up the generated type file. Let's just this. It's not exist on type. So what's happening behind the scene is when you pass this user update topic in, when you create this user topic config parameter, it will create a type file that's stored in your node modules folder, and which your application code. All right, there it is. it's picked up now as I'm explaining. And so I think just when I have my streaming and my VS Code running side by side, VS Code, the TS server can be a bit slow to pick up some of the changes. All right, so let's try this again. If you do dot, and if you do try to autocomplete, it would show you that you have three options. By default, app and stage is always in there, and user updated topic is coming from this config parameter you just created. All right, let's save. And finally, let's invoke our function again. Invoke, you see there. This is the, I'm glad it's finally working. This is the ARN that we set as a value for the parameter. So that's it. That's how parameters work. And let's quickly show how does a secret work. So let's say a common use case, right? If you have any billing in your service, very likely you're using Stripe, and Stripe token is a secret that you want to in your application code. If you make a call to the Stripe API, you need a Stripe token. And let's see, how do we store that? We'll create a Stripe token, new config secret. Okay. And note that we are not passing the value here, right? If we pass the value here, defeat the whole purpose of storing the secrets here. And we'll pass in the Stripe token like this. And in your application code, you could do we'll log or as you can see. Let's give it a second for the stack to finish building. Cool. Let's deploy this change. And note that every time you add a secret into deploy is because because to fetch the secrets in your application code, we need to have the permission to access your SSM. Behind the scene, the secrets are stored in your AWS SSM parameter store. So whenever you use a secret, we need to update the permission so that your Lambda function have access to the SSM. That's what we kind of need to deploy in between. All right, let's deploy. And you can see now, if you look at what's in the config, let's see, all right, now Stripe tokens in there. And usually it should be really fast. It's just really my VS Code running side by side with the stream, and it's making it super slow. But usually when you create a secret in your stack, you can flip over to your application code, and the new secret name should be able to autocomplete in there. All right, let's just wait for this to finish updating the function. All right, it's done. Now, if you invoke the function, hey, you get an error, right? Why are we getting an error? Is because we said we're going to use a secret called Stripe token, but we have not set the values for them yet. Okay, let's see, how do we set the values now? We added this new SST secrets command, and we'll set Stripe token to, just give me a very test value, and yep. 1 second. This be secret set. So secrets has a list of commands where you can see, you can do secrets list, where you will list you all the secrets that you have in your app. You can do a set, you can do a get, you can set a remove, and you can also set a fallback value, which we'll go over in just a sec. Hey, my computer is really slow today. What's going on? All right, if you look at is set a stripe token, and it restarted all the functions using a stripe token. I'll just go over that in a second, what that means. All right, now if you try to invoke the function again, you will see, all right, the value is here. So what's going on behind the scene is that, whenever you import config, it would go fetch the value from SSM, decode them, and put it inside config. So when you do config.stripe token, the value is there and decrypted. But you know how this import is happening outside of your handler, and if you're familiar with Lambda functions, anything that's outside of your handler that's only get run once when the Lambda container first boot up. So what that makes this is, if you actually go change the value for SSM, Lambda doesn't know yet, right? It needs to shut down and then restart, like spin up a new container where it would go fetch it again from SSM for it to be able to pick up the new secret value. So this is what we kind of do with the CLI is whenever you set it, we try to look up, hey, what are all your functions in your app that are using stripe token? In this case, we only have one function here. And you would try to restart the Lambda function. And by restart, I mean we are setting like a placeholder environment value, which is kind of like a trick to tell the Lambda function, hey, something has changed. So whenever you're done handling the current request, restart yourself to handle the next request. So if you set other value here, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. My MacBook's embarrassing slow, I think. Cool. All right. I see you just started all the functions. And now if you just invoke, did it? This set 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. What's going on? I think this could be a bug we have with SSC start, where we might be hanging on to the Lambda runtime environment where we're not restarting it. All right, let me just put this down. Good thing we caught something. Let me just quickly build the start. Let's take a look at how it works for when it's actually deployed to production to make sure this feature is working. So instead of SSC start, where the functions running locally, we'll just deploy to Lambda. Let me bring on Dax maybe. Let me see. Hey Dax.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have idea like what was going on there, or just on top of my mind?
Yeah. So you set the secret, which would restart the AWS function, but there's already a node process running locally that's receiving that is not going to get restarted until you save the file, which will cause it to rebuild and restart.
Right. Is there an easy fix for this?
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where once we have like that event bus set up more nicely in the CLI, you can just emit an event that says secret set, and then all the functions that are referencing that secret could restart or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, it's something we should fix. But yeah, workaround now would be to like just resave the file, which I think would work.
Oh, make a change to Lambda file, right? Right.
Yeah, or just save it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. While it's deploying, let me just quickly explain what the fallback idea is. If you look at we do a help on the SSC secrets, you can see all the commands that it supports. Okay, so it supports a list where you can see all the secrets have been set. You're supposed to get a set, a remove, right? If you want to unset or reset or remove a secret from your account, from your app, you can call remove. Just like set, when you call remove, it would restart all the functions that are using Stripe key. You can also set like a fallback and remove the fallback. So what the fallback does is, imagine if you have, this is especially the case where if you're using like a pull request workflow where, for every pull request that's created, you want to deploy them to a stage that's dedicated for the pull request. So and usually those stages are usually deployed to the same AWS account, and usually to the same region. And so usually you have like a ton of these pull request stages in the same account and same region, and you don't necessarily want to, for each pull request you want to set, that's in this case Stripe key, and it's very likely they all share the same value for the Stripe key. They probably all share the same testing account, testing environment for Stripe. So you could just set the fallback, and in the code when we import config, you will first try to look up, hey, do you have Stripe key set for this stage? And if it doesn't exist, then you will check the fallback stage, right? Does it exist as a fallback for this AWS account? And if it does, it would use the fallback value instead. Okay, all right. All right, it's been deployed, and let's restart refresh the. Oh, we need to start SSD console. We just spin up the SSD console to load the console in the production mode. Okay, all right, we'll do an invoke. And when it's in the when it's looking at the production, it's pulling the logs from CloudWatch, so the logs won't show up as immediate as when you were running locally. Cool. We see the secret value is 1234. All right, we would then something else. And what's interesting is if you look at this log, you have this, the blue number means it's a cold start, and the cold start took 343 ms. And when we update the secrets, we should, for the next invocation, you should see a cold start again, because we restarted the Lambda function. Right? It's called invoke. Let's wait for the CloudWatch logs to come in. right? The value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and see it's another cold start. And if you just invoke it without setting the value, you should see, right? The invocation should, the log should come in without the cold start, and the value should be the same. There. All right, no cold start. Here's the value. Cool. I think that wraps up. Let me take a look at my notes. I think that wraps up the demo. Yep, that wraps up the demo. And so I guess we just need to fix the behavior for SSC start. It should have the same behavior. And as Dax mentioned, if you want to give it a try today, after you set the Lambda, the secrets when you're running SSC start, you just need to make a change to this Lambda function and save it again. That will cause SSC start to rebuild the function, meaning restarting it. But we should have the fix very shortly after the demo. All right. AJ, you have
yeah. I think what we can do is maybe we'll take a couple of questions before we go into the implementation, Frank.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think there was a question around. I think you might have talked about this before, but it was around like the cost of these things, and I think we should add that to the docs. I'm not sure if we have that mentioned in there. So what's sort of the pricing around using this on AWS?
I think SSM has a pretty generous free tier. Let me just pull that up. All right, let's get the pricing for the parameter store. So we are storing the secrets and also like the parameters in parameter store SSM, and SSM has two pricing tiers called the standard and advanced, and we're using the standard tier, which is so essentially free, and the reason why am I not in the English version of this? Oh my god!
I had the same issue. I was looking at it like a minute ago, and I thought it was something wrong with my computer.
Yeah, really weird. But anyhow, it's free is free. Free is free in any currency. So it is free, and they also have this notion of advanced tier, which gives you the size of the secret values can be, instead of 4 kilobytes, can be 8 kilobytes, but you really shouldn't store that large of a value inside the secret. If you do, you should maybe store that in the in like a private SSM bucket or something, and then load the value on the fly. What else? And also the advanced tier has like a higher API rate. But if you're just using it for loading a secrets, and it's very unlikely you're going to go over the API rate limit. So we're using the standard tier, and it's free.
Yeah. Let's I guess just make a note. Let's add that to the docs. I think that's a pretty common question. Yeah, let's just go through some of the stuff here. I think Victor had a question sort of related with SSM. What do the paths look like when they're stored?
Yeah,
we'll do a deep dive into the implementation, but maybe just really quickly.
Yeah, the path it's all namespace under SST. We can go into this later, but it's pretty much /SST / the app name / the stage name / secrets / the secret name. Yeah. And for the parameter, it's SST / app / stage / parameters / the parameter name.
Yeah. Let's do a few more. I think there's some seed related questions, and we'll go over that. But actually, yeah, why not? Yeah, maybe Frank, you can talk about that here. So using it in seed, what does it sort of look like? Or even like moving over what you have in seed to using this, what does the change look like?
Right, I think for seed, but this applies to any CI you're working, whether you're like using GitHub Actions, right, or Circle. It is right. You usually have secrets set in there. Any of these CI providers, they have this panel where you can set secrets in them, and um, in my opinion, you shouldn't need that anymore. So like the issue people always had is, for my local development, I have .env, but the moment to deploy through CI, I need to make sure I set the same, I set the value for the same set of secrets, set those values in the CI, and so you have this like two places where you're managing them, and I think what the secrets, the config, the secrets and parameters, what they give you is to have this one centralized place. You're not storing any sensitive data on your local. You're not storing them in your CI. And especially some people, they have one CI that runs the test. And some people, they have CI that runs the test. Maybe like GitHub Actions, and you see to deploy, and you might have the secrets in all three places. And so this allows you to have like one central place to manage all your secrets. So I definitely do this and not store them in your CIs anymore.
Yeah, and I think Dax dropped a hint around this, but I'll sort of mention as well. At some point, we'll be doing a sort of newer version of Seed where we'll be managing some of this across multiple accounts, and people have sort of different setups, and there were a few questions around that, and so. The way it is currently, it's as sort of Frank demoed. It's like it's specific to that account. Yeah, maybe Frank, you want to talk about that one as well. I think that was mentioned in the docs, but like, how does it work?
Yeah, SSM, it's a regional service, so it's and you cannot really retrieve SSM from another account. So all your secrets is not really stored in the same central account, same central region, US East 1. It's not really like that. It's stored in the region where your app is being deployed to. It's stored in the account and in the region where the app is deployed to. So if your dev stage is deployed to dev account, US East 1, and your production is deployed to the prod account, East 1, and the secrets would be stored in different accounts, different regions.
Yeah. I should sort of reiterate this, and again, like some of you that have sort of followed along the story, you kind of get this already, but just to be very clear, we're helping you manage secrets in your account using your credentials and using SSM within that. So this isn't like, SSD sort of secrets or config feature isn't a separate sort of SaaS service or something like that. Like it's not being pushed away into a different account. It is how you would typically use it yourself. It's just we're adding the helpers across the board and we're tying them all together in kind of a type safe way with the with sort of like a level of sort of error detection, I guess. And yeah, so when you kind of think about this, it's the impression I think we'd want to sort of convey is that this is what you would have done, but we're able to sort of build that into SSD.
Yeah, AWS always talk about this is the best practice way to store and load secrets. And usually, if you were to do it manually, it would be you go into SSM, manually create a parameter and store the value as a secure string. And in your Lambda function, you would fetch from that the SSM. And some people, they have a set interval timer on every minute or every like 5 minutes, they would refetch the value. So you don't end up with stale value if you change your secrets. So pretty much we're just packaging that into this CI command where, we'll set it for you and we'll also restart all the Lambda functions. So you don't have to implement the, SSM fetching and auto refetch every, so and then. So and all these secrets and parameters, they are deployed apart from a part of your CloudFormation stack. So they're not we're not making one-off apart from setting the secrets, right? Because that's not possible through CloudFormation, but everything else it's deployed as a part of your CloudFormation. So we're not making one-off API calls to create, something in, calling the SSM directly.
Yeah. I think just on that, because I think you have the code open here, Frank. I think Antonio has a question around. It's not clear to me. Must we access the param/secrets inside or outside handler functions? And so you kind of have it there. Maybe you can just sort of show that off again as like how this sort of works.
Yeah, I'll deep dive into what this package looks like in a bit, but when you call import, it is like a top level await where it goes to if you make a call to SSM to fetch all your secrets and decrypt them. And so after this import, you could already do, you could use them outside your handler function, but I don't see why though. But you can use it outside or you can use it inside. Yeah. Does that address his question?
Yeah. I think what it is here, and this is we went to sort of this level of trying to figure out what is the cleanest way of doing it. And to be fair, if you just sort of looked at this code, you're kind of going, where's the work being done? So I can sort of see that. But effectively what it is that, when you do the import, there's like a top level of weight and all the work gets done before it hits your handler function. So yeah, I hope that one sort of answers that. I think Sean had this question. He's saying, would changing a secret, and you maybe addressed it already, would changing a secret for production deployment require a redeployment for the new value to be picked up?
Yeah, that's no, it doesn't. It would, because what we are doing is whenever you change the whenever you're calling the CLI command, let me pull up the command. Yeah, so whenever you're calling this secret set command, we're doing two things, right? We are updating the value in SSM, and then we are restarting all the functions. And by restarting is so that if for all the warm Lambda containers, for the ones that are not handling requests, they will restart right away. For the ones that are handling the request, they will restart once the request they're handling finishes. And when they restart, they will call this import again. And on import, they will be able to fetch the new value. So you don't need to deploy in between to make that happen. Yeah. To pick up the new value. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, we sort of addressed this, but in the behind the scenes, we'll kind of talk about what changes we had to do to make this sort of happen. And this was kind of a key requirement for us when we were sort of implementing this. I think that touches most of the questions that I can sort of see here. We can do, if something else sort of comes up, I'll pick them up. But otherwise, I think we're ready to maybe do the behind the scenes, Frank.
Yeah. Jared has a question, right?
Oh, okay.
You want to take that? Secrets won't be visible in the dashboard with full read permissions.
Are we talking? I think we're talking about the console here, or are we talking about the? I guess I'm not. Maybe I'm not totally clear on that one, Jared. We'll let him sort of get back to us on that one. But yeah, maybe Frank, give me a quick overview of like, what are you gonna go over with the behind the scenes stuff? Oh yeah, Jared is saying AWS dashboard. Yeah. So his question is, secrets won't be visible in the AWS dashboard with full read permissions.
Oh, that's a good question. I need to double check on that. I don't think so. Because when you go to AWS dashboard console, right, they don't show you the value right away. You have to hit. I forgot the buttons for decrypt or view. I don't know if that's making another call to SSM to decrypt the value or not. I would think you shouldn't, but double check on that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
For behind the scene, I was just going to go take a look at the construct. Take like the construct code for parameters and secrets, and show like what's being created, and when you use it in the function, what's happening to the function, and then take a look at the node config package to see what is going on in there. I think that would piece everything together, and then finally I will show the CLI, like how it is able to look up all the functions as using the secret and how it's restarting them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right, cool. So I'll bring up the you can I had the SST. I was working on it. SST watcher running. That's why it was slowing down some of the stuff. But okay. All right. I think. So I'll start with just going over parameters first, and I have the doc on the right in case I miss anything. I can just flip over the doc, but it just coming off if you feel I'm like skipping steps or or anything. Okay. So let's take a look at parameters, right? Again, just to refresh, a quick refresh how we're using parameters. It's like this. We are creating a parameter, and now we're just passing in a value, right? So when you do this in the parameter construct, we are making sure that the name is not being used already, which can be very confusing if you're setting the parameter twice. So we throw an error there, and then we are just doing a very simple thing. We are creating a SSM string parameter. Like, no, it's not secure string. It's just a string. It's in plain text, with this parameter name and the straight up value, right? If you're looking, you were asking how the what's the parameter name look like. It's referring to build SSM name for parameters. I think it's we have the central place of building stuff. So /SSD/app name /stage name /parameters. That's the prefix, and we are appending the name of the parameter to it. And this slash is what AWS recommend how to namespace stuff. So it's all pretty standard. So that's it. Parameter is really just a wrapper around SSM. And then let's look at when we use it inside the function. Heading over to the function construct. Okay. We have this function called handle config. So when we create, you can see for the for SSD function, right? It extends the Lambda function. That's why we make a super call. So after the super call, we have the Lambda function construct already, and we are making this call called handle config, right? We really just added this. So what this adds is it adds an SSD app, SSD stage. So in your Lambda code, it has this idea of like what I'm part of and what stage I'm part of. So it will be able to fetch the value from the correct stage and from the correct app from your AWS account. And this is for secret. We'll skip that. For parameter, we are adding the parameter as a lambda parameter. In this case, it would be parameter env prefix. I think that's the parameter env prefix is sst param. So what we are adding here is sst underscore param underscore the name, which as the environment to the lambda function. So for this, so when you create a parameter, we actually do two things. We add a lambda environment variable, and we also create a SSM. The lambda environment variable is actually the one that's being read in the runtime, because let me see. Let me show you the what's going on behind the scene. If I go into the AWS console. So, AWS console. Just pull it up. I think it'd be useful to see what the SSM console and the Lambda console, to be able to see, take a look at what is being actually set behind the scene. System manager. And now we'll go into the console. All right. So if you were to search for SST, the name of my app is my SST app. Right? You can see that we created one parameter and one secret, and the parameters here, it's of type string, and so this is created with the value of the topic. Right? So we have SSM parameter for each parameter, and then we have Lambda function, which is so bad. Right, we also created this SSD param, user updated topic, and when we at runtime, let me pull up the config. So this is what happens when we import the Lambda function. So over here, when you import, let's see how it's figuring out the parameter values. So it has calls this function called store parameter.
So this is the node package, right?
This is a node package, right? Yeah. And I think we'll go over the other functions in a bit. But for the for parameters specifically, we are just looking at all the process.env, and we are filtering that by parameter env prefix. So we are filtering that by sst param underscore, and we are setting each one of those values into config, right? So we look at everything that start by SST parameter underscore, and we grab what comes after it and assign to config. So you have config.user updated topic. And some of you might ask, right? It seems you could do this all through Lambda environment variable. Why do you use SSM? This is thing, it's tied to what we want to do next to be able to, let's say in a test, if you want to run a test, you often have, right? If you're running a test, let's say you did use config, use environment called topic ARN, right? And the value for topic ARN at runtime comes from, Lambda environment variables. And when you're running tests, right? Like, how do you know what topic ARN is, right? You probably need to write some script to be able to go to the Lambda function that you're testing, go make a call to get all its environment variables, and then find the value for it. Or you could mock those values in like a local.in file. So what this allows you to do with parameter is we are storing a copy of that in SSM, and when you run your test, this is what Dax is going to work on next is, right? He will help you to load all your parameters and secrets, and set them as environment variables for your test environment. So with this almost like one command or one helper. We don't really know the form of that yet, but it gives us the ability to be able to fetch, look at all the parameters and secrets you're using and have them ready. So in your test code, when you're testing this function, config.user update topic will still work. You have the exact same values as if it were running on your local or in production. All right. Yeah. Cool. And another reason we are not, not using topic ARN here is that, you could have, multiple Lambda functions. They all have topic ARN. One might be pointing to, user updated topic. One could point to, billing updated, right? So when you're testing, they are all called the process.inf.topic ARN, but which value are you testing against? So parameter always, gave us this ability to make sure, the name's always unique. So when you're referring to something, this is the same. Doesn't matter which Lambda function uses user updated topic. So they gave us that ability. So it makes tests like a whole lot easier.
Yeah. The other way I was thinking about this is like, config is our way of letting you set secrets and environment variables across the whole app, as opposed to how typically a lot of people do their Lambda functions, which is the Lambda functions are almost standalone, and there are some benefits to that sort of approach, but especially if you are coming in from a non-serverless world, it is really tricky for you to make that mindset shift of going from, hey, I have one sort of monolith app to now I've got hundreds of separate Lambda functions. This is like one of the steps that sort of makes that a little bit easier, is that these things are done across the board for your entire app.
Yeah. Cool. I think that is what parameter does. Let's take a look at secrets. Okay. The secrets construct, you guys are gonna laugh at me. This is like even simpler. It's empty. It doesn't have anything. So when you create a secret construct, it does not create any AWS resources. Because first, wait, stop laughing. First of all, like AWS, I think CDK doesn't allow you to create like a SSM with a secure string type. I might be wrong, but I think that's the case, right? And also there's no point in creating that over here. But and then you might ask, like, why are we still have this secret construct, right? I think I'll go over that in a bit, is how we're able to have autocomplete and type checking when you call config dot secrets. But okay, secret it's empty essentially, right? And in function, in the handle config, we looked at setting the environment for the parameters, and over here above it, we also set an environment for the secret with a placeholder value of 1, right? If you look at here, right, SST secret Stripe token value 1, right? One really just, it can be any value. We just want to set a placeholder value so that config knows, hey, I need to fetch Stripe token. And if you look at the again, when we do import, we look at this file, is the file we're looking at is when you do, it's this config, sorry, node config index. So when you import, another thing it does is store secrets. Note, how pulling out secrets and store that in config is await. It's like a sync function, because I need to make API calls to SSM, where parameter is not await because it's just trying to figure out the value from environments. That's enough. So store secrets in config. All right, again, so we are looking at process env, looking at all the environment that starts with SST underscore secret underscore. So we're taking all that, and then we are making a call to load the secrets. So load secrets is just this wrapper around, SSM API, where we're just calling SSM.getParameters. And SSM.getParameters lets you to fetch in chunk of 10 parameters. So we just kind of wrap around it to, break it up into chunks of 10 and fetching like 10 by 10. And if some value is not found, let's say you set Stripe token, but you haven't called the SST CLI command to set the value for Stripe token, so it won't be there in SSM. So that will be returned by, get parameters will return you, say, hey, there is one invalid parameter which I didn't find. So if there are anything that's not found, you get an error. It's the following secrets were now found. That's the error, we were getting. Hey, we refreshed it. Anyhow, that's the value we were getting in our code. I think we can get it to work. We could do Stripe token 2, and let's make invoke this function.
I don't think it's running. Oh
no, I started SST start.
so
it's running locally. So config Stripe token 2 has not been set for. Oh, this is a different. Okay, so this is a different error, which
we'll go into in a second. Yeah,
which we're going to do in a second. But let's set Stripe token.
And then you're gonna remove it from the CLI.
Yeah, in the CLI, I would remove the value for Stripe token. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I think when you get a chance, can go over the permissions. Like, how does how does your Lambda function have permissions to access that, and how is that handled?
Invoke. All right, the following secrets were now found. Stripe token. Right. So kind of, we try to print you like a very friendly error, so you could go set it. And so where were we? All right, so if everything succeeded, we are just taking, the latter part. We just take a latter part, which is Stripe token, and assign that to config. Right, so that's pretty much how secrets work behind the scene. Let me take a look at. Okay, next thing I'm going to show is, this nice thing of the autocomplete, like how we're able to figure this stuff out. So what it does is, So both config and secrets, they fall under this thing called config, which isn't really a construct. It's just like it's really just this class that's kind of wrap around. It's not really a class. This is really just like this like namespace thing that wraps around secrets and parameters. So we'll import, we do new config.secret, new config.parameter. We kind of want to have that namespace. So when you think about config as a thing. And what it does is that is like code gen step where every time the app is built. So when SSC starts running, every time you hit save for your stack code, it will call code gen types. What this thing does is it creates this config.d.ts inside the your node module add types servlet stack node. I think this can be any name. We just like pick this. Seems to be a standard according to DAX. And we are still creating a file called config.d.ts, and over in there we are using this trick of, if you look at our in this config code, again, this index.ts, I mentioned a couple of times already. This we're looking at this import command, this node config.index.ts. So we're looking at that file. In this file, at the very top, we define this config type, and it starts with the empty curly bracket, and we do this trick of in the in config, we kind of import that module, and then we declare the module, and we think of this as like inserting stuff into that type in another file. And so we're inserting like an app stage, we getting all your parameter names, getting our secret names, and for each one of them we set it to string type.
String, right?
So if you look at in your project, if you open up the file explorer for your project, if you open up node modules, going to types, going to this is the one we created, and it has a config.ts. Right, it has an app, it has stage, everything's in here. So the moment you add something the moment you create a new secret, this file is going, and you will hit save, the config.d.ts will get updated with the new with the new item, and in your function code, the autocomplete will show up for the new property. So that's how now you kind of see why we created why we have the secrets construct. So to be able to, so that we know that you're going to use this new secret, so we'll let you autocomplete.
Yeah, and I guess in this case, like this code gen is different from, the types that we're generating here is different from the way we do types in the front end case, right? Like in that case, the types file is in your front end, and whereas this one is inside your node modules. This is sort of hidden.
Yeah. This one is hidden. I need to check with Dax. Where Dax, let me pull you on for a second. Just about Jay's question. For our v static site, we're dumping the type file into the user's v project, right? Over there, can we also dump into node modules and have v pick that up? I think you're muted, Dax.
Yeah, so I think we did that because we were just following Veet's conventions. I think we should be able to dump it into node modules and have it get picked up, assuming it shouldn't matter where it goes. I think the root level trick is you need TypeScript to pick up certain files. It's always going to pick up all files in your source directory because in your TS config, you're pointing it at your source directory. So if we generate anything and put it in your source directory, it's going to work. The downside with doing that is sometimes you don't want to see all this like code gen stuff alongside the rest of your code. So can we find another place to put it where where TypeScript will automatically pick it up? And we found that putting it in node modules in that types folder generally works. So I think we can, any place we want to like have it pick it up, we could technically do that approach.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I think it's. What's that?
No, I just find it when Dax explains something, it sounds more legit than when I do.
Especially in the TypeScript world, you're like, oh yeah, sounds like what he's talking about is right. I think what's sort of neat here is this, like, when you were doing it in your demo, it was a little bit slow, but just the fact that you can define it in your infrastructure and then it auto completes in your Lambda function code. And because we've got, obviously our like SSD start environment running, and this is sort of doing it behind the scenes, it feels like, you're working in the same environment. And even though it's like, obviously you know what's happening behind the scenes is like they're like almost like two separate parts of your application, but it feels like it's the same thing, which is pretty nice.
Cool. Let's see what else.
Do you want to talk about the other error handling, Frank, by the one that you showed by mistake? The the case where like it's like, you've got a typo.
Yeah, this is a lot. Let me see.
And I think somebody has a question about the IAM permissions as well. Yeah, you can maybe like touch on that.
Cool. Yeah. So if you're trying to use a secret that or parameter that's not been set, that's not been passed into config, first of all, you should get a type error first at dev time, right?
Right.
Say this is not a config type.
Yeah.
Right. You should get that. But if you ignore that and if you keep going, you would at runtime you would get this error. So let's see. Yeah. So at runtime we'll get this error. So what we're doing here is for config, we're creating like a proxy for this object. What that allows you, what proxy does is when it creates another object that it would kind of let you control how you're getting and setting properties to the other object. So we are adding this proxy, and we are almost setting a getter where if you're trying to get something that's not in the target, which is not in the actual config object, it will throw this error. Right. So again, but note that the case where if you are if you're using Stripe token and the value for Stripe token is not set, you get the error right away when you import, because that's when we try to fetch from SSM and the value does not exist. But for this error, we don't know upfront. We only know, when you try to access something where we are like, so at this step, there's no error, right? We're able to fetch Stripe token. We're able to fetch, pretty much just Stripe token. But when you actually try to access this, we'll be like, hey, we didn't fetch that. It's now found. So we throw the other error. And, as we were working on this yesterday, Dax suggested that, we could, if in the future, do, static analysis to be able to pick this up at build time and be like, hey, build failed because we try to use something that is not being passed into the function.
Yeah, in my mind, this like goes hand in hand with the type safety and autocomplete stuff. It's like you in the process end world, like this is a common issue we've had. It's like, especially when you put in a new secret, you'll go run your code. Oh, it's not being picked up, and then you go through like the steps. It's like, oh, did I define it here? Did I set it there? And it's like, and it takes you a while to like, figure out what actually happened. And usually, like, you'll do this. At least what I've done in the past, you'll do this once, You'll then deploy it to prod. You'll get the same type of issue again, and you do the same sort of debugging process. So to me, like this one is kind of like this on a personal level. This matters to me of like just being able to catch this. It's like, hey, you're trying to access something that you're not setting. Just to sort of zoom out really quickly, it's like, so on the infrastructure level, you're kind of going, this function has access to this set of config, right? Like these parameters and secrets. And then when your Lambda function loads up, it checks, let's say like for the secrets, have those secrets been set? If those secrets are not set, it throws an error, right? And then in your Lambda function, if you try to access a secret that you're not supposed to have access to in your infrastructure, then it'll throw another error, which is the one that you're showing here, right?
Yeah.
That roughly, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, maybe do the IAM one.
Yeah, let's click the permission. Okay, I think first of all, we're only setting the permission only if you're using secrets. If you're not using secrets, we're not setting them. Right now,
Okay,
we're setting.
okay, what is the permission thing? If you just like back up really quickly, so what is what permissions? Why do we need it?
Right. So when we so you probably gathered, right? Like secrets are stored in SSM, and when we in your application code, when you import config, it's like top level await. It makes SSM call to fetch the value from. It uses AWS SDK to call SSM to get all the parameter values and decrypt them. So your Lambda function needs IAM permission to make the the permission we are granting. You need to make, right? It needs permission. It needs the SSM get parameters permission to be able to pull and decrypt the SSM values. And over here, we are setting a /star. I think when I was at the time of writing, I thought this is star made sense here because you're managing all the secrets in your app, and it's a good way to be able to just like do a star to fetch all the secrets. But as someone pointed out, I think in Discord earlier today and over here, I think it does make sense to be even more granular, to be able to so I could see a use case when you specify granular permissions. I see the use case of you have two functions, if they use different secrets, they don't have access to other secrets, right? It's always better to to have more stricter permissions. So that's a good point. Yeah, I think let me take a note of this.
So that's like saying, hey, this function has, like in the config for the function, you're specifying the secrets, and then over here you would ensure that the function can only retrieve those two secrets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think even right now, if you try to, let's say you have Stripe token, and if you also had GetUp token.
Okay. Yeah, let's just go with something. I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Say you always are using GetUp token, but you didn't pass that into here. You will get an error. You will get an error that's saying that, hey, you cannot access GitHub token. So that's one layer of protection. But by having granular IAM permission, what it allows you to do, if user figure this out, if they try to make SSM call themselves,
just a regular SSM call, yeah,
to fetch /sst/ app stage secrets /GitHub token, they were still able to fetch that, even though he didn't specify that this function is using it. Right. So okay. Yeah, I put on a note. So next minor next patch release will put this in.
Yeah.
I think that now only part we didn't go over is the CLI part. CLI has a list of commands where you can set, and let me just go in.
Yeah, that and the app state, I guess, or talking about like how we're pulling all of this stuff out, I guess.
Oh yeah. So this is all the core of logic where it's handling the listing of the secrets, get secrets, set secrets, and removing them, and list and stuff is like very straightforward. And we're just grabbing everything, calling SSM, get parameters, and we're creating a function that wraps around the SSM get parameters by path. By path is so that it allows us to do give me everything that's prefixed by /sst/app/stage/parameters, because when we do a list, you're trying to list all the secrets across your app, not for a specific functions. So we need to know everything, right? So this is how we are listing all the secrets out, and we do that twice: once for the secrets, once for the fallback. And we are print them in like a tabular format to show you all the values. So list is very straightforward. Again, get also straightforward. We know exactly what you're getting, so we're getting exact that value and that fallback value, and we are just print out the value and show it to you. And the set is what's interesting. So we do a set and we do a restart functions that are using the secret.
Yep.
The set is very straightforward. It's just the SSM put parameter call, and we're passing overwrite because otherwise it doesn't allow you to update the secure string value. But what's interesting is restart function using secrets. This is interesting. I guess let's go over like what this does. First it looks up all the functions that are using the secret. I think that in the high level it looks up all the functions using the secrets, and then it loops through every function and setting setting an environment called SST admin secret updated at, and passing a timestamp, so that the moment you change the environment variable for Lambda function, the Lambda function is going to get restarted on the next invocation. But the tricky thing is, how do we know all the functions are using that are used in your app? The way we do it is similar to when you go to your SST console, when you go into functions. How do we know all the functions? How do we know all your stacks? How do we know all your functions? What we used to do was that we store all the functions that are in your that are being created in your stack, and as part of a CloudFormation template, so that when you load your console, we look at we do a list stack call to load up all your stacks in your CloudFormation. Look at which one are tagged by the app, which one are tagged by the stage. So we filter them by that, and then for each one of them, we need to go describe the stack to pull up the the metadata inside your CloudFormation template. And so imagine the number of API calls we're making. It's one for list all the stacks, and if you have like a ton of stacks, like I've seen people have thousands of stacks in a CloudFormation. So it's if that's you, console probably never worked for you. right? It's where CloudFormation APIs have very, very low throttling limit. So you get throttled really quickly. So to this, I think we were living with that for SSD console because this SSD console is not like it doesn't really stop you from using SSD, right? It's like it's a really useful add-on, right? But with secrets, we can't do that. Like every time you do set secrets, we have to wait for like 5 minutes to pull up all your stacks. When you get throttled, keeps on retrying, figure out like stack metadata from every single stack. If you have 20, 30 stacks, then that's like 20, 30 calls to load up the cloud formation. I think if you have more than a handful of stacks in your account, you'll get throttled, like for sure. That's sometimes people say, oh, their console takes a while to load. It's like we are indefinitely retrying that call to load up your stacks. So we can't really afford indefinitely retrying when you set a secret, especially when you're setting it for prod, right? So what we are doing here is we kind of, with this release, we change how we are storing the metadata. We're no longer storing them inside your CloudFormation, so that you have to fetch it from CloudFormation. So for every stack, we added this custom resource that let me show the code where we're doing this. It's in the stack construct. Stack construct, we have this thing called create stack metadata resource. It's like a very simple custom resource. CloudFormation template is really just this another resource in there, just kind of your Lambda function, your CloudWatch log. So it doesn't add too much weight to your CloudFormation template. It's really just this one resource. With it, it has a property called app, stage, and stack. And once your app is built, we kind of go inject there's metadata in here. And what this custom resource do is it will take this metadata and you will store in an S3 bucket. And that S3 bucket comes from SSD Bootstrap. It's just another idea we kind of added in with this release. If you're familiar with CDK has this Bootstrap that creates like a S3 bucket. It creates a couple rows to facilitate deploying CDK apps to your AWS account. So we kind of adopted. So we talked to the CDK team and we kind of adopted the same strategy. I was asking them, hey, we need to create this S3 bucket to store people's stack metadata, right? Does it make sense to store inside the CDK Bootstrap, or should we create our SSD Bootstrap to store in there? And they're saying, yeah, you should go with SSD Bootstrap, right? That's try to keep them like standalone, because and because we kind of like make changes on different cadence. And so that's what we kind of do. So now when you try to deploy, we deploy this SSD Bootstrap stack, but only once per account per region. Very exact same behavior as CDK Bootstrap, and it doesn't really have much in there. Really just have like S3 bucket and a couple SSM parameters that keep track of the current version of the Bootstrap. So that when you deploy a stack, this custom resource is able to store this metadata about the stack into the S3 bucket as a JSON file. So now behind the scene for the console, instead of making a ton of API calls to a CloudFormation, we just make a couple calls to S3. And S3 calls are like really responsive, and you have super high throttling rate. So we just make concurrent calls to your S3 bucket. Again, the S3 bucket is deployed into your account, right? Into your account, your region, and we just make a couple S3 calls to load up the metadata for all your stacks, and showing you this console. At the same time, we're doing exact same mechanism to figure out what functions are being used in your function. That are using a secret. Ash was asking, right? This isn't a breaking change, right? How? Yeah. This is not a breaking change. It's I'm not sure actually if you're referring to the console. The console you just made backward compatible that is reading from this bootstrap bucket first, right? If it doesn't exist, you will read from the CloudFormation template. And let me quickly show you what that how we are loading it from the metadata. Okay, so so when we try to restart all the functions as secret, right? The first step we need to figure out does the bootstrap bucket exist, right? If it doesn't exist, you're probably using some older version, and it's really a corner case. I don't see how you can call SSC secrets with an older version, right? So we just return right here. I don't think anyone would ever get into this case. And then we would get a list call to say, hey, give me all the metadata JSON files in the bootstrap bucket under the folder stack metadata, your app, your stage. So in this S3 folder, that will be one JSON file for each stack that's storing metadata for that. And so now we know all the files, and we do a promise all, right? We concurrently try to get all the file for to actually get all the JSON file content. The reason we are able to do a promise all is S3 has really high, like a throttling rate. So you very unlikely you're going to get throttled. And then for each one we are, right, this is just minor details, how we are structuring the metadata in there. We are just looping through all the functions that with secrets include that in the secrets that's being used. And then so we filter on those functions, and for each of those functions we call Lambda get function configuration. We try to get like Lambda doesn't have an API to add an environment to your existing set of environment. So we'll do a get first to get all the environments that's currently set. We append this, this placeholder with a unique value to your existing environments, and we do an update call.
So now that's what you were showing, like it's there in the AWS console, like this thing. Was it there? Or is it like we would
updated?
We need to do a set or something?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take a look at. Yeah. Islam's asking, is it possible to use config to share configs across stacks? Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't show that. I think that's a recommended usage. The recommended usage is to have one stack that doesn't have any resources. You just define a bunch of config secrets, and that's almost like your secret stack, and then all the other stack can just use that.
Yeah. Let's put that down. Let's add that to the doc. I think that one's it's pretty useful.
I'm mentioning in the doc, but I didn't show an example. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because I think this is something that we should probably cover somewhere else as well. But yeah, just this idea of like doing stuff across stacks.
Yeah. All right. So if you refresh, is there a refresh button on this page? No. There, admin secret updated at. So the moment you call this update call,
okay,
right? The moment you call this update call, Lambda is going to look at, hey, what are all the warm containers that are idle? They're getting killed right away. and all the ones that are handling the request, they're getting flagged. So the moment they finish handling the request, you get restarted.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And I think that's true with setting an environment variable. That's obviously true when you update the code. I don't think that's true when you update the tag. So I couldn't do that. I think that's true if you update the description and stuff, I think. But I think environment variable is the least harmful one to people.
Yeah, just to like step back here for a second. So the general flow is like when you change the environment variable, let's say it's something like Heroku or something, it's like you go change the environment variable, that triggers a redeploy for them, right? You remember this was like a while back, but like I
Can I
haven't
say it
done this.
again?
Like on Heroku, if you were to change like change an environment variable, or like like in their dashboard, that automatically triggers a redeploy.
Yeah.
And in Seed, we don't do that, but it's up to you. Like you have to go redeploy it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think the issue, like somebody was sort of bringing this up, I guess Sean was sort of bringing this up, like typically when you do this, it's like you're kind of forced to go either redeploy the entire app, or you have to figure out what are the functions that are affected and then kind of like redeploy those, or like do a trick like this, I guess. So in some ways, and I think this is maybe the reason I kind of want to talk about this, is like this sort of highlights like the way we were sort of thinking about this was like, we really wanted this feature. We really wanted the idea that if you change the secret in your CLI, that SST should be smart enough to go figure out all the functions that are affected by this in the stage at hand. It could be prod, and then go update them so that you don't have to do a redeploy, which we could have done. That would have been sort of the dumb way, which is like every time you change the secret, you're like, hey, go do a redeploy. Whereas in this case, it's like, behind the scenes, you're using this trick to like update them basically.
Yeah, and if you're looking at my environment variables, don't get don't worry that it sets so many ugly environment variables. Like all these are because we're running inside SST start. They are really just facilitating, sending some metadata to local. It's actually really doesn't like config really add SST app, SST stage, and your parameters and secrets, right? It doesn't really add all the other junk like to this. And when you redeploy, this is going to be gone, right? This is only going to be here like when you update, right? When you do a full deploy, you'll be gone. And we do the same restart function thing when you remove when you remove a parameter right here. When you remove a secret, we also restart the function. Secrets. I think that's everything. Yeah.
Do you want to quickly talk about the fallback thing, Frank? And like, why do we even have the fallback? How are we handling it behind the scenes, I guess?
Yeah, for fallback, let's see.
I think that one, like, if you're just sort of coming in, you haven't been following the sort of story so far, it is a bit weird. Like, what is a fallback? Why is it even required? Why do I even have to set what's the point of a fallback? So maybe if you can sort of walk through that a bit.
Yeah, I'm just making a call to set a fallback. But for the fallback, it's really designed for the case where if you have a lot of developers sharing the same account, and just in general, when you're developing, you usually have, for most of the AWS resources, you pretty much have one version of that for every single stage. But there are certain things, like say a test Stripe account, like your test GitHub account, where you're trying to listen to webhook or something. You're not going to create one GitHub account or one Stripe account per user. That being said, it could be a custom resource that we could build later on, that we could create those non-AWS resources for you and per stage. But anyhow, for now, for all those resources that are shared, or if you're using a database at Planet Scale, right? You're not, or MongoDB, you're not really creating one cluster per developer. So for any of these shared access tokens or keys, for people that are in, for all the stages that are in the same account and same region, sometimes it can be cumbersome to set that for every single stage. I think for the developer case, it still makes sense. Everybody go set it, but especially for the pull request, if you use the pull request workflow, right? What the pull request workflow is, every time you create a pull request, that's going to create a new stage, deploy to your testing environment. And so a testing environment will have a ton of these pull request stages. And it would be, you could in your CI, every time you create a new pull request stage, you could install SST, call the SST secret set Stripe token for that. But to set that, you need to have the Stripe token stored in your CI again, right? Right, doesn't have a really good solution for that. So we add this fallback notion, right? So for all the stages in the same account, same region, you don't need to set Stripe token for every single stage. You just have to set a fallback value. And what that looks like here is, just before I explain all these, I ran a set fallback command. What that does is, if you go back to our parameter, if you refresh, you see there is, Frank is the name of my stage. Right, recommended to use your own name for a stage, so you don't step on other people with similar stage names. I also, this command created exact same path structure, except for the stage. We are not using the stage name, we're using the .fallback for the stage name. The reason we use .fallback is you can't really have a stage name with a dot in there, so you'll never be able to thrash this. And if you go in here, you hit show, that's skTest fallback. That's the value I just set over here.
Right.
Yeah. So did that crash? Did that crash something?
Wow.
Did we make a really bad choice by betting on SSM?
Did we make a bad choice by betting on AWS? I've never seen that before, actually.
I think maybe it's stuck in some weird. Don't tell me it's this.
No. They're saying they're making some upgrades. This is kind of like for all the people that are Apple people in the crowd. Like, Apple takes their stuff down when they're about to put out a new product. Like, they'll take down their store. So everybody's really happy when it goes down, because like, oh, the new product is coming on. So this is maybe something like that.
Let's see if I could go back to the parameter store. Yeah. Yeah, but and I think you get the idea, right? It just creates that if you remove the Stripe token for my Frank stage, it would use the fallback value. Yeah. But one limitation for fallback is when you update the fallback value, we don't restart all the functions using that fallback, right? It's just a bit tricky for us to do, because we kind of need to figure out
across everything,
right, all the stages that are in this AWS account, this region, and for each stage figure out all the Lambda functions using the secret, and restart all of them, right? Which could be very lengthy and yeah. So try to use to set a value for each stage, and if you really like, that's not an option, sure, you can use a fallback, but it's not meant to store something that changes value very often.
Yeah. Actually, before we so Victor is saying that page happens when the key cannot be found. That's a very bad error page. But yeah, okay. So to reiterate this, because this one can be a bit confusing. So typically, and I think Dax is sort of saying this, you shouldn't have to use the fallback concept in general. The point here is, let's say you are bringing up a PR stage, like an ephemeral stage, just to do some tests and to throw it away. And if these are generated automatically through your CI, like through Seed, for example, it's a little bit weird that every time you bring up this ephemeral stage, you have to go through the list of all the secrets that this stage is based off of, let's say, and then set those. In this specific case, just for this workflow, it might make sense to at least have maybe a core set of your secrets, have a fallback value that this thing can then use without you having to set it. And the point here is this thing applies to the same account and same region. So this is not meant to be kind of like a fallback for, like, across accounts or like across regions or whatever. It is just meant to be for this specific case of, you're bringing up an ephemeral environment and you don't want to go through having to write a script to pull out all the secrets and to set them. So
yeah,
hopefully that answers some questions.
Cool. Yeah, I think that wraps up everything. Is there any questions that we missed?
Just looking through it. I think I don't know if this one was a question or not, but Islam had a question about, can config be used to share across stacks, right? And then I think he had kind of a follow-up. I don't know if you saw that one, Frank.
Yeah.
Did you see that? He was saying, I had a case that needed to reference resource across two stacks in two different regions. That one's a bit different. I had to use a custom resource on top of SSM. Yeah, I can sort of see that. This isn't quite for that, but
yeah, that is really referencing is a value being used in the function code.
Yeah, we'll wait for him to respond. Dax has a question. How do I use this in tests?
Let me just check with Dax. Hey, Dax, how do we use this for test? Okay. So for test, so given the structure that we are, okay, so for test, and let me address the issues people had with tests before, right? People were using environment variables. Environment variables are stored on AWS Lambda, and there's no easy way to pull all the environment variables for all my Lambdas and then load them as environment variables for the test. Like you could write a script for that, but you had to make a ton of API calls to load all the environments. And also, different functions could have the same environment with different values. And usually what people would do is they test function by function. So when they test this function, they mark the value to this. When they test another function, they mark the value for the other one. So that's what we try to solve by parameters where they are stored in SSM. So you have one central place. Pull this up. You have one central place to pull in all your secrets and parameters, and you just have to do a scan of everything prefixed by /sst/app/stage, and also parameters it's being set at the app level, right? So different functions will always have the same parameter value for the same parameter and secrets. So that kind of address the two main issues for test. So what we are working on right now is we're going to create some helper that help you to pull down all your parameters and secrets, respecting the fallback values for the secrets, and have that all set as environment variables for your test. And then in your test, when you're testing the function code can be like code the config dot GitHub token and the value is ready to use. So this works when you're running it locally, when you're running your prod, when you're running your test. Like this, and when you do import config, is able to pull down the value from SSM everywhere and use in the test. So we'll figure out how do we either wrap your test around or have a helper where we import in your test. But
we're working on tests is the next piece for us.
This is pretty much right. Like for your test, just give me all the parameters prefixed by /sst/ your app name and the stage name plus the fallback stage, and set all these as environment variables for your test. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. We've got a few more questions coming in. Let's see. Yeah, when would I use? Oh, let's do that one first. When would I use this for secrets compared to AWS Secret Manager?
Yeah, Secret Manager. To be honest, I haven't used it extensively apart from working with RDS where secrets. I think Secret Manager is, but because I think there are a lot of AWS expert in our Discord and probably on the stream. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought Secret Manager has features around like variable like secret rotation and all those advanced like secrets features. But I think in our case, when we say secrets, it's really just like a secret string value that you don't want to be exposed. And on top of that, you have this benefit of having a version that later on, if you want to point to a certain version, you could, or be able to see all the historical value for something. So I think that is a pretty good feature set. That's that's enough for having a secret environment variables, and given it's free. So I think SSM is a pretty good choice for this.
Ashish had a question on like, can we add the ability to the CLI to create a .env file from params and secrets? So basically like from the config. So pretty much like generate a .env file. Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see that.
Yeah, just to make stuff like backward compatible, right?
Yeah, or like I guess if you end up sort of like using it somewhere else, maybe.
Damn it! It's my first version of secret list. I was outputting in a .env format, but that looked super ugly. So I put in work to draw this table out.
right. I guess we could take it.
This table took me an hour because people are complaining in Discord that our npm package size is already too big and they didn't want to use any graphic library.
Oh wow!
And yeah,
it looks pretty good.
Yeah, and I think npm console has the console.table, right? But it doesn't say secret. It says good. Index here, right? And we care about naming more.
Yeah. I guess Then we'll just add an option to like generate to turn this into
export into. And I put that down.
Yeah. Will has a question. What about referencing config across different SST apps? I'm breaking my application into separate SST apps, each comprised of separate stacks. I think Ashish was sort of adding to that one. Importing secrets /params by customizing the app, stage, and param name values. Is that doable as well?
Yeah, I was looking at some other comment, but this one essentially it's, are you able to load secrets and parameters from another
app? Yeah,
app, right? Not right now, but if they are in, so I think anything that's above the scope of an app, we don't do right now. Yeah, that's kind of like the boundary we've been drawing for this. But I think, would that be, how would that look? I think being able to import, something from another stage or another app, that could be useful. Uh, I think we might need to look at like case by case issue, right? When you're dealing with another stage, uh, another app might be fine, but another stage, right? If you require different uh, IAM roles for that, but for different app, yeah, yeah. I think if there's a specific use case, I think we could like address that, whether it's importing from it or, you know, yeah, yeah. Why not if the apps are in the same account, same region? Yeah. I don't know how automatic the question was meant to be, but if we have the secret export, we can have a secret import, right?
Right.
You can just do export and import.
Yeah. Dax is saying his circular dependency problem would also be solved by that. Yeah, I feel like we've covered everything. I think there's like some other bits on. I know the doc sort of covers this, Frank. It's like, a comparison between, I guess, config and .env. Yeah, why use parameters over environment variables?
Yeah, I
Sort of
think
okay.
right. Yeah, .env. It's pretty much right. Like the whole purpose of config is you have one central place to store all the secrets. You don't store some locally, some in your CI environment. It's all in SSM now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the rest of it, I think we sort of cover in the doc. Yeah, is there anything else, guys? Otherwise, I think we're good here. I'm taking a final look. Yeah, I was thinking it's like, would we be removing .env? No, .env is still around. Yeah. That.
Yeah, but we are going to put a big not recommended sign on it.
Curious, what Playground is? Is this some quick way to create an AWS account and then kill it when you're done with the demo?
Yeah, Playground is a very interesting name. I've been using for my personal. And Playground is really just my AWS account. Jay has a Playground, and Dax is his account, and then we have prod and yeah. We try to have the most complicated setup so that we experience the taste of the worst and try to make that better. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think we're good here. Yeah. So the next launch is going to be auth, and the reason auth was getting delayed was because it needed config. And the reason config was getting delayed was because we had to make the app state change, which Dax need to work on. So there's a circular dependency there. That's now been resolved. So until next time. So the next one will be the auth one. I think that's coming up next week. We'll be sharing more details about that. You guys have probably already heard about it as is, but excited to see you guys there.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.